something I heard you say that really stuck with me is that you started to find your voice when you started writing jokes that like you were attached to. And I'd be interested to hear more about like that process, because finding your voice is something all comedians, and me, I'm just now 10 years in, that I feel like I'm starting to get like, oh, maybe if I do a little more sarcasm, it works better. But like still being attached to material is something I'm trying to work towards. How were you able to do that? What was that process?
I think with they say like, well, there's no official timeline, but they say what is it, 8 to 10 years is how long it takes to find your voice. And every comic that's 4 years in is like, no, I found my voice right now. And then if you stay in it long enough and get to 10 years, you're like, oh, I was totally wrong. I was
Mm-hmm.
wrong about my voice when I was 4 years in. But I think it's the difference that when you start, you don't really know how to process your life and your life's experiences into
Mm-hmm.
comedy yet, but you know how to write a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can watch, you could watch joke writers, you could watch Seinfeld. You don't learn anything about Seinfeld's life from watching Seinfeld's comedy. But that's joke writing. That's what you need first.
Right.
You need that skill. And then you could take that skill and apply it to your actual life. And that I think is where you start to find your voice, because you're like, oh, this is a situation that actually happened to me at the store or in a relationship. So it's truth. I'm talking my truth, but I also have this skill set of how to take that truth and put it into a format that is a joke. And that's where I think it starts to fall in, like you're saying, like you lean into sarcasm more, like, oh, maybe that's my style and that's how I convey the things I want to say. Not just like I look back at my early years of comedy, I know like, oh, this was a setup and a punchline. It had nothing about me. It was just a joke. And
Mm-hmm.
then you figure out that it's more rewarding for me. I find it more rewarding to like, oh, my personal experiences, like, well, we're laughing at my personal experiences, not punching down, but like I get to talk about myself. I think that's what voice is. You're like, but then again, I love Mitch Hedberg, and that guy never talked about his life at all.
Yeah, and that your line on your first album where it's like you ever wake up and pretty much it's like wake up and believe in yourself. Like that was almost like a
Yeah.
spark for you that kind of you started to use that as kind of a jumping off point to start building material. What was it about that line that really kind of opened up the next level of your comedy?
I think because I thought my life was in the best, most humorous way, pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's no there's hardly any originality. The dumb guy routine that's worked in sitcoms from the dawn of television. The old schlubby boy. Look at this dumbo guy. But if I was talking about specific situations from my life, you can't take that away from me. You can't tell me it's hack if it's in my actual life. If
Mm-hmm.
me, if me walking through the grocery store drunk, holding a 12-pack, balancing frozen pizzas on it, just having a good time, even though that's typical dumb guy shit, that's what I did on a Saturday night. And that was funny to me that I was still happy in the midst of that being my lonely Saturday night. But yeah, I was realizing that also I was relating to a lot more people of like, that was maybe, if that was Death of the Party, that was 2009. But so that means those jokes were in the works in the mid-aughts,
Mm-hmm.
which was plenty of people that spent ridiculous amounts of money to go to liberal arts colleges thinking that you're right to pursue your dream. And then all you got was debt and not a career that was, if you were lucky, maybe distantly related to what you really wanted to do. So I think that material struck a chord with a lot of people that were like, oh yeah, I don't think we're going to get the life we wanted to, even though we just spent tens of thousands of dollars on an education that was worthless. And now
Mm-hmm.
we're in debt, which we're seeing more of now. And it's not, I don't think it's barely even funny anymore, because now the cost of education has skyrocketed compared to the compared to inflation. And now it's a total shit show. I
Right.
was making fun of it before; it was just a little bit of a shit show. Now it's a whole disaster. But I think it related. I think the laughs I got from that was like maybe it was funny, but also that people related to it. And that's, when you watch a comedian, you're like, people love Jim Gaffigan because he talks about food. Guess what? Everybody has to eat to stay alive. You're going to relate to food. Relationships. Everybody gets lonely. They want to, regardless of, I think, gender or sexuality, there's still some inherent need to be with somebody. So the idea of a relationship is still relatable to most people on earth. So being a, 30 something, early 30s loser with student loan debt and a pointless day job related to a lot of people.
And that self-awareness, I guess, is what translates. It starts with like being aware of who you are and how you got there. And then maybe like letting your material bloom from that is what seemingly more personal. It's almost like the more universal and the material becomes.
Yeah. I mean, you never want to be disingenuous. I mean, like you wind up pricing yourself out of the market if you do a good enough job complaining about how shitty your life is and being broke and having shitty day jobs. Well, then I got rewarded with a career in comedy. Well, guess what? I'm not broke and I don't have a shitty day job anymore. I'm not going to go and act like I am, because then that just turns into Larry the Cable Guy. And it's just a caricature of like, well, man, I'm only making $9 down at the Pizza Hut tonight. No, that's not the truth of my situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to try and make more relatable material now about
high breath.